If you think so much that you almost hurt yourself while thinking, if your mind is always going, if your thoughts are always racing, if you get on a million tangents, you have constant conversation with yourself in your head, and not your team, not your guides, not intuitive information, yourself, and you go round and around, and maybe you worry a lot, maybe you have anxiety, your headspace is what I would say is chaotic, your upper dantian is always running, this would be great for you to learn. And this would be great for you to pay attention to and to add into your mix, like your understanding of how that energy works. So pay attention if that resonates with you. When we have a lot of thoughts, our thoughts reside in the mind. They are the action of the mind. They are the process of thinking. They're also the byproduct of energy. But because they reside in the mind, they move very quickly because it is associated with the brow or the crown chakra, in the fact that the energy that flows through those two chakras are the fastest in the body. Once we get above the physical body in chakras, things become even faster. The lower we go in chakras, the denser the energy. So when you're talking about your heart, it moves a little bit slower than your head. When you talk about your belly, moves slower than your heart and your head, your root being one of the more densest, slow-moving energies. The higher you go, the faster the energy moves, the more subtle energy happens, and the less physical energy happens. So with that in mind, when we bring it into the elements, your thoughts can be coordinated to the air element. It's not easily seen, right? You can see the product of air moving, but you can't always see air itself. Sometimes it's naked to the physical eye. It moves super fast, and it can come in out of left field, so to speak, right? It's very light in weight in the fact that it is suspended and its density is not as heavy as any physical object. That means when you are in your thoughts, you are moving either chaotically or rapidly, and you are so light that you are up in your upper dantian. So if you find yourself thinking, one of the best things that you can do is to balance out your overly light energy, is to add weight to it, to add density to it. So you're going to want to pull in one of the most densest elements that you have the ability to tune into, and the easiest way to do that is to get earth involved. Earth is physical, it is dense, you can hold it, you can feel it, it can clump together, it can form a solid, it doesn't move unless it's being moved by other forces. Like, you want to add that in to slow down the speed of which air moves, to weigh it down. The easiest way to go do that is to go ground. When you find yourself chaotic in your headspace, or overthinking, or going round and around with a narrative, even in stuck in review or tangents, or worry about what could happen, and it's all in the mind, to balance it out and calm it down, go ground. That being said, if you find yourself sluggish, if you find yourself a little bit maybe depressed, weighed down, too lazy, unproductive, right? Like, but really take account that you are actually exhibiting those things, and you didn't just bridge out of being like a go person, and you need to pause. So like, let's really, some self, awareness is needed to be able to identify what you're feeling, going through, and where you are. But if you feel like you have no motivation, right? Like several lazy days in a row, sweatpants, ice cream, like, you know what I mean? Like lounging around for so long that you're like, I really need to do something, but there's no motivation. You have too much earth. You have too much heavy, dense energy, and we need to lighten you up. So you can bring in the air element. You can bring in creativity, which would be your fire element. You can bring in a lot of other things. So it's a little bit of like an introduction, I guess, 444 on the clock. I just felt like somebody needed to hear it, and it might just be helpful to you. So when you start talking about energy, and especially when it comes to the elements and how they relate to the body and the energy that the body goes through the physical vessel, those are one of the easiest ways to begin to understand the elements. So when your mind's racing, you have a lot of air element in you, and we need to bring in its natural opposite. So let's bring in earth. When you feel like you can't do anything and you have lead, shackles on your feet and you're tied down, you have too much earth. So we need to bring in a lighter element to balance the scales. I just feel like somebody could use that information. So I hope that helps. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We teach this stuff. So feel free to reach out to us. We don't mind helping you. Bye.